Scala Precision Health is at the tip of the spear when it comes to advanced treatment protocols for cardiologists. Since 2005, Scala Precision Health has developed endothelial dysfunction prevention programs for bypass, stent, and heart transplant patients. Many of these patients were over 40 years old and endurance athletes with normal cholesterol who had heart attacks. While developing private physician-based VIP centers from Boca to Beverly Hills, Scala Precision Health has educated over 500 physicians. Every heart patient is biochemically unique, and our advanced nutritional testing and lab work drills down on specific vitamin, mineral, amino acid, and fatty acid deficiencies with a focus on longevity and performance. Many patients are currently paying $250 to $400 a month in supplements they don't need. A personalized program will reverse deficiencies, inflammation, and fat loss while ensuring the muscle remains intact. Scala Precision Health Business Development can save the cardiologist $100,000 in franchise fees. Develop this program over 90 days for a fifth of the cost, and patients can start seeing their cardiologist and get nutritional and diet coaching under one roof in just 30 days. And we're going to talk all about this program, but first, Russ, thank you for joining us. Russ Scala, founder and owner of Scala Precision Health.
Hi,
we appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Can you tell us about who you are so our viewers can understand, your credibility to be here chatting with us today?
Yeah, I was always asked a lot of questions. I've been in medicine about 40 years. We're focused on cardiologists here. So I worked in the emergency room through high school, witnessed a lot of heart attacks. Two of my mentors, Dr. Wartzel and Dr. Crivelli, trained me in the Winter Park emergency room when I was in high school, and they got me into the paramedic program. So I did that for 20 years. I responded to emergency calls, cardiac arrests. I got placed on the SWAT team in that time, and again, that's sort of the overview. When I went back to graduate school, I wanted to focus on my master's program on the aging workforce and what happens to our bodies as we age. At the same time, I was a triathlete, and I was racing all over the country trying to get away from that police, heavy drinking, seeing emergency scenes. I switched my community, which was a very healthy move at the time. So I started racing around the country with very fit triathletes. Finished up grad school, became the director of research for a large pharmacy, and I got to travel to the best research labs in the country, interview the leading doctors that were the outside-the-box thinkers. So I've always been fascinated with heart disease and how it just isn't about cholesterol. And the tip of the spear for me was, as a triathlete, I started seeing really fit athletes having heart attacks, some of my good friends.
Now that, for me, as someone who's not in the health field at all, that's just mind-boggling to me, because there's definitely this association with fitness and health when it comes to athletes. You think they work out all the time. They usually have to have very good diets. These are fit, strong men, and yet here you are saying that you're seeing them have heart attacks. Explain how is that?
Okay, so
how do you reconcile that?
No. And think about me. I was a paramedic, and then I would do these long distance races, sometimes 3 to 5 hours, swim, bike, run, Panama City, Florida. I would train for these races. I would come across the finish line, and then I would go into the medical tent in the 90s, and I started seeing cardiac arrhythmias that I saw as a paramedic. I'm thinking, this is odd. Then I had 2 roommates at the time that were triathletes as well. One of my best friends had a heart attack. So I actually went to the intensive care unit where he was and talked to his cardiologist. So it isn't about cholesterol. If you could think about the lining of the arteries, like a lot of these athletes that race, including myself, your heart rate gets up to 180. And the ejection fraction, when your heart beats, it's equal to lifting 70 pounds off the ground 1 foot. So what happened is the lining of your arteries, called the endothelial lining, which you said so eloquently, the endothelial lining becomes damaged. And how does that endothelial lining become damaged? Nutritional deficiencies, low testosterone, low growth hormone, elevated estrogen. So there's a lot of things.
It's not enough just to be in shape and be working out.
No, you could actually, and I was one of them. I damaged my body and my heart, trust me, from doing all this training. Wow. My lab work, when I finally had to go to the doctor, was where everything was falling apart on me. I started racing in '83. right about 10 years into it, I started feeling really bad, thinking I was healthy, right? Low resting heart rate, I had a tan, racing all over the country. Well, I was getting depressed, had erectile dysfunction. I was inflamed all the time, and one of the doctors that was my best friend around lab work on me says, "You got the labs of an 80-year-old man." So I'm like, I was in shock. So I'm like, again.
I imagine that must have been a wake-up call
Yeah,
to realize.
I really had to dial back and quit the long distance training. I mean, it's not just about the training of the racing; it's basically about the community. So the people that I were with were so motivating and outside the box thinkers, and it was a good group. But that what I found out was, as I looked at more of what was happening to the heart when you were doing long distance racing, the same thing happens to normal folks. When you damage the endothelial lining, it isn't just about measuring cholesterol. It's about damaging your endothelial lining. And folks, if you want to do something when you go to your doctor, you could run this through insurance. Cholesterol testing doesn't tell us much. Ask for the lipid particle testing. Think about cholesterol like a big beach ball. A lipid particle is about the size of a marble. So the lipid particle testing, something called lipoprotein A, that could really block your arteries. I went to a company called Athrotech that came up with this testing in '96, and I met Dr. Kenneth French, the Chief Lipid Science Officer, and I had a bunch of questions. I flew right to the facility and spent 6 hours with him. So ask for your lipid particle testing. It will give you more information on what's really blocking your arteries, and maintain your hormonal levels, testosterone, thyroid, estrogen. That also protects the endothelial lining. So that's something that doctors aren't doing right now, just so you know.
Absolutely. And then it is reversible then in that case.
Yes, yeah. People get a calcium score, and calcium could be in the heart, and calcium is stable. So what we're worried about is a little blister can form in the heart and pop and cause a heart attack from damaging the lining. That blister is called a soft plaque rupture. Okay, that's what causes the heart attacks, and a lot of times, and that's going to be the paradigm shift in cardiology. So we're working with cardiologists right now. We're consulting with them about building these treatments into their practice, because people, they go to their nutritionist, they go to their weight loss doctor. I'm trying to get the cardiologist to develop this under one roof, so we could really, I interview thousands of people. You know what they say at the end of the day? I'm tired of going to doctors every week. So if we could get this in a cardiologist's office and have him do a multifactorial treatment protocol with diet and nutritional testing and hormonal testing, he will be the early adapter in this new treatment protocol for heart disease.
Absolutely. Now, I want to touch a little bit on the Institute of Nutritional Medicine and Cardiovascular Research.
Okay.
So, if you could give an overview of your experience, your kind of relationship with that.
Yeah, before I started Scala Precision Health, I started the Institute of Nutritional Medicine and Cardiovascular Research, where I was paid by a venture capital company to travel around the United States and interview physicians and go to these labs. So in 1996, I was doing a lot of traveling, meeting a lot of cardiologists. What people don't understand is we got 155 medical schools in this country, and diet and nutrition, hormone replacement therapy is not taught in these medical schools. I'm not shooting anybody down, but heart disease, think about it. Heart disease, diabetes, and cancer, and dementia, what do they all have in common? Inflammation, elevated insulin, elevated blood glucose. What if they're all one disease? They just manifestate themselves with different things in different people. Again, imagine if a cardiologist got together, a neurologist and an obesity doctor, and they just did the basics under one roof. Keep the blood sugar down, keep insulin down, and keep inflammation down. They would be rock stars.
Well, I think you're a rock star. One thing I love about your
I feel like a Jehovah's Witness. The door's shut in my face all the time. Yeah.
One thing I do love about your experience in this is that you do approach it from a collaborative nature, and you work with other people. And I understand you've had collaborations with even celebrities, Dorian Yates, right? Six-time Mr. Olympia. Can you tell us about that collaboration?
Okay, so Dorian Yates, six-time Mr. Olympia. I get a phone call one day, and in his English accent, he goes, "Hey, Russ, this is Dorian Yates." And I'm thinking, really?
You're like, who's pranking me right
yeah,
now?
I thought I was getting punked. Anyway, it really was him. So we talked. He had 2 deep vein thrombosis. He went to 4 doctors in Spain. He went, he's traveled all over the United States. So again, what I did with Dorian was I talked about endothelial dysfunction. And you know what he did? He saw my video on endothelial dysfunction. Folks, I have a video called High Calcium Score in Athletes on the Russ Scala YouTube channel. And, I drill down on everything that happens to the endothelial lining. It'll put some of you to sleep, but people that you want to show it to your
Stay awake. This is important information.
Yeah, if you want to show it to your cardiologist, it'll blow his hair back and let him know we know what we're talking about. So Dorian Yates, 6-time Mr. Olympia, called me. He had 2 blood clots. He was afraid to go to bed at night. Thought he was going to have a stroke. So I looked at all his treatment protocols, everything he was doing. He saw my video on endothelial dysfunction. That's why he called me.
Okay.
So he said, I saw your video. So he had knowledge.
Yeah.
So I developed a treatment protocol with my team for Dorian. We reversed a lot of stuff over 6 months. And then Dorian started his own YouTube channel. And I was the first one that he interviewed.
Aww.
So we got about 70,000 views.
Look at that.
And I'm getting calls from all over Europe, and I'm like, how do I help you guys? So all I was doing was just telling them what blood work to get. But yeah, I mean, it's...
What has the feedback been from cardiologists and patients?
Some of the cardiologists got to see 30 people a day. They have to follow the standard of care, which is just put people on cholesterol-lowering drugs. Cholesterol-lowering drugs came out in 1984, and heart disease continued to rise. Right? So, plus cholesterol-lowering drugs is $1 trillion drug. Again, people with familiar hypocholesterolemia need to bring their cholesterol down, but cholesterol is not the issue. Like I said, we're all biochemically unique, right?
Yep.
There's different reasons why our heart gets blocked.
Of course.
Okay? And that's what we got to drill down on. But a lot of people, they don't have the time. They have one program fits all. Now, the cardiologists I'm talking to right now, the reason I'm talking to them is they were looking at buying a franchise for $250,000. And I looked at what they were going to get. I'm like, I could do that for 1/5 of the cost.
Yeah.
If you want to do it. And I said, I'll make you stand out around, if you have four or 5 cardiologists in your area, you'll be the go-to guy because of what you're doing.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And the entrepreneurial cardiologists that aren't tied to a large bureaucratic organization, those are the guys that it resonates with. Like the cardiologist I know, Bruce Stein, he's an endurance cyclist, so we hit it off.
Yeah.
I mean, we get it. He's
2 athletes. Yeah.
he's great to
Endurance
talk to.
athletes.
So, there are no absolutes. Cholesterol-lowering drugs came out in 1984, and heart disease continued to rise. Why is that? Should we be looking at another area?
Absolutely.
Now, when you get a stent, I developed the restenosis program because even when you get a stent in your arteries to open it up, it can become reblocked again. So a lot of my information I've shared with cardiologists, and I help their patients.
Yeah.
Or I have a lot of patients with high calcium score that we protect the lining of their arteries so we don't have that blister pop, that soft plaque rupture. So again, this is a new paradigm. Yeah. Cardiovascular diseases, as you and I are sitting here, the whole treatment protocols are changing, and people are getting knowledgeable. They're doing their homework. Listen, there isn't anybody that knows more about the disease of a body than the person that has a disease.
Well said.
You know what I'm saying?
Well said.
They know. I learned so much from individual patients, and some of their knowledge levels. When I'm listening to a guy talk about what he did for his heart, just from investigation over, his name is Sean. I listened to what he did to his own heart after a 5-year journey. He had heart failure and everything. He did everything he was supposed to and rehabbed his heart. Only thing is, it took him 5 years.
Yeah.
And I listened to that guy. It brings tears to my eyes. He did this all on his own and found a doctor to work with him. Now, what I can do is cut that time down into 30 days,
And
90
the costs.
days. Yeah, exactly, and save people a lot of money. So, even at 67, I'm still enthusiastic, still ask questions. This has been my life's mission. This is what I want to do. We've got to rage against the machine because the machine's broken.
And I have to say that just the heart in and of itself is such a complex yet fascinating organ to have dedicated so much of your career to. As you said, you even called it your mission. This has been your mission. And I know today we've just gotten this very limited overview from the years you've invested into this. But if you could put together kind of your main takeaway that you hope those watching get from this, if you could share that.
Yeah, the main takeaway is, folks, heart disease is you're gonna soon find out that it's the damage of the endothelial lining. There's a book written by Malcolm Gladwell called "A Clot Thickens." He talks directly to this. And if you want to prevent heart disease, you'll maintain your nutritional and hormonal levels. You want to maintain your blood sugar levels and your insulin levels. Heart disease is multifactorial. It doesn't just come from high cholesterol. Like I said, cholesterol-lowering drugs came out in '84, and heart disease continued to rise. It's the #1 killer today. Why is that? I mean, what you think about it, there's got to be something else we're not looking at, and that's sort of what we're bringing to the table.
And then for the cardiologists watching, I mean, there's definitely a special message in there, this fascinating program you have. How can they learn more and dive into that?
Yeah, the cardiologists that we're going to be talking to, we'll send this video to the cardiologists in Central Florida. If you want to set up a meeting or you want to go to Scala Precision Health, you can get our contact and we can set up a meeting and talk about developing this in your practice.
All right, I'll share that website again for you. That's scalaprecisionhealth.com. For more information, you can also go to the Russ Scala YouTube channel. There is a plethora of information there, life-saving information, if I may say that, because this truly is things that people do need to know. And we're so appreciative of your time, Russ.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
Absolutely.